Islam in Taiwan is a slowly growing religion and represents about 0.3% of the population. There are around 60,000 Muslims in Taiwan, in which about 90% of them are of the Hui ethnic group. There are also more than 180,000 foreign Muslims working in Taiwan from Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand and the Philippines, as well as other foreign Muslim nationals from more than 30 countries. As of June 2013, there are 7 mosques throughout Taiwan, with the most notable being the Taipei Grand Mosque, the oldest and largest mosque in Taiwan. Taiwanese Muslims, which mostly came from Chinese Muslims in mainland China, are Sunni Muslims and mostly belong to the Hanafi school. Nevertheless, they practically face no problem at all with any of the visiting Muslims from other schools. Differences are more a matter of mutual curiosity rather than conflict. Annually, Taipei Grand Mosque reports an estimated 100 converts at the mosque and Taipei Cultural Mosque reports 50 converts at the mosque. The spread of Islam to Taiwan. First wave of migration. Islam is believed to have first reached Taiwan in the 17th century when few Muslim families from the southern Chinese coastal province of Fujian accompanied Koxinga on his invasion of Taiwan to oust the Dutch from the southern city of Tainan in 1661 and established Kingdom of Tong in Taiwan. These people are believed to be the first Muslim settlers on the island. Their descendants, however, became assimilated into Taiwanese society and adopted the local customs and religions. According to Professor Lian Yatang in his book History of Taiwan, there were few Muslims on the island, most of whom were from other provinces in mainland China. There was no spread of Islam and no mosques were built. The final traces of the first Muslims' migration to Taiwan were wiped out during the Japanese colonial rule of Taiwan in 1895 to 1945. The last imam that came from mainland China to Taiwan was in 1922. During that time, all of foreign religions were proscribed. After the handover of Taiwan from Japan to the Republic of China in October 1945, the tradition of sending imams from the mainland resumed again in 1948. The Chinese Muslim Association put a number figure for all of the people who come from the first wave of Islam migration to be around 20,000 people. Despite the effort of the association to resuscitate Islam among them, basically they no longer practice Islam anymore in the daily life. Yunlin on Taiwan, one branch of this Ting family descended from Sayyid Ajal Shams al-Din Omar, resides in Tai Si Township of Yunlin County. They trace the descent through him via the Quanzhou Ding family of Fujian. Even as they were pretending to be Han Chinese in Fujian, they still practiced Islam when they originally came to Taiwan 200 years ago, building a mosque, but eventually became Buddhist Taoist. The mosque is now the Ding family's Taoist temple. Changhua in Changhua County. There is another Ting family which resides in Lukang Township. They trace the Muslim ancestors from the family books, originated from Quanzhou, Fujian as well. It was recorded that there was a mosque and bath well built in this town in 1725 run by the Kuo family. However, many of the ancestors stopped practicing Islam once they arrived in Taiwan due to public pressure. Their ancestors left some hints to the current generations of the Muslim heritage, which is shown in the Sithaewan Chapra of the house, resembling a square-shaped house with courtyard in the middle, different from the ordinary Taiwanese houses which is Sanhaewan, a U-shaped house with courtyard in the middle. For the bird's-eye view, Sithaewan houses resembles the Chinese character Hui, which represents the Hui people, a minority Muslim people in northwest China. The families gained the fame and wealth by running business in Kang. Also in Kang, there are also descendants of Hui who came with Koxinga who no longer observe Islam. The Taiwan branch of the Kuo family in which is not Muslim and follows traditional Chinese cultures, but still does not offer pork on Fridays nor offering it to their ancestral shrines. They also like to keep the heads covered during rituals. The Chinese Muslim Association counts these people as Muslims. Based on certain historic documents, it was reported that there used to be a mosque in Beitou area in Kang. According to some studies, the former site of the Kuo family ancestral temple should have been the site for the mosque few hundred years ago. Keelung. There are also two families in Keelung whose ancestral shrine contains a Quran and examples of Arabic script. Although they did not understand the significance of these objects until contacts were made recently with the newly arrived Muslims in Taiwan. Those two families are not Muslims and do not read Arabic, but they honor a book held sacred by the forebears. Tainan. Similarly, 2 or 3 families in Tainan are reported to observe funeral customs more associated with Islam rather than Daoism or Buddhism, such as ceremonial washing of the body and wrapping it in white cloth, although in other aspects of the life they are normal Taiwanese. Second wave of migration. The second wave of Muslim migrants occurred during the Chinese Civil War in the 20th century when around 20,000 Muslim families fled mainland China with the nationalist government to Taiwan in 1949 at the end of Chinese Civil War under General Bai Chongxi. Many of them were soldiers and government employees at the time and came from provinces where Islam is strong such as Yunnan, Xinjiang, Ningxia, Anhui and Gansu. First mainland Chinese Muslim settlers in Taiwan founded Taiwan's first mosque in 1947, the Taipei Grand Mosque in Taipei. The mosque symbolized the friendly gesture from the ROC government to Islam and also reinforced ROC diplomatic ties with the Muslim allies. After the establishment of the mosque, diplomatic activities between Republic of China and other Muslim countries developed considerably and trade and commerce increased remarkably. This second wave of Muslim migration from mainland China to Taiwan resulted in the creation of other mosques in Taiwan, such as the Kaohsiung Mosque in 1949 in Kaohsiung, Taipei Cultural Mosque in 1950 in Taipei and Taichung Mosque in 1951 in Taichung. During the 1950s, contact between Muslims and Han Chinese were limited due to differences in custom. The Muslims were largely dependent on each other through the Ummah that met regularly in a house on Lisui Street in Da'an District, Taipei, the original site of the Taipei Grand Mosque before it was relocated to its current site at Xingshang South Road. However, by the 1960s, when Muslims realized that returning to mainland China would be unlikely and out of professional need, contact with Han Chinese became more frequent, though there was still a considerable degree of interdependence within the Ummah. In 1953, the United Nations General Assembly passed a resolution condemning the ROC government for its actions and guerrilla warfare inside Burma. Finally, an agreement was reached between Taipei, Rangoon and Bangkok for evacuation of all Kuomintang or irregular forces under command of General Li Mi to Taiwan. Civil air transport transported 5,583 Kuomintang soldiers and 1,040 dependents to Taiwan. The majority of these guerrilla forces were Muslim and had no place to worship in the new Taiwan home, and so they started to construct the Longgang Mosque in Zhonglai in 1964 and was completed 3 years later in 1967. There are around 200 Muslim families living around this area with most of them belongs to Ma family clans. There are numerous Halal Yunnan, Burmese and Thai restaurants around the area as well. Around those periods, a few Muslim leaders held seats in the Legislative Yuan and National Assembly. There were Muslims serving as ranking officers of the Republic of China Armed Forces, notably Lieutenant General Ma Ching-chiang, which once became one of the top advisors of President Chiang Kai-shek. Muslims also held important posts in the diplomatic service, such as the ROC ambassador to Kuwait Wang Shiming. Third wave of migration. Since the 1980s, thousands of Muslims from Myanmar and Thailand have migrated to Taiwan in search of a better life. They are descendants of nationalist soldiers that fled Yunnan when the communists took over mainland China. These people constituted to the third Muslim immigration in Taiwan. Many of them settle in Burma Street, Zhonghe district of New Taipei, Zhonglai district of Taoyuan, and some other towns. Fourth wave of migration. The majority of Taiwanese Muslims today are relatively recent converts, mostly women who have married mainlander Muslims. Today there are some 60,000 Taiwanese Muslims and a further 150,000 Indonesian Muslim workers and other Muslims from Malaysia, the Philippines, Pakistan, India and elsewhere, making the current total of over 210,000 Muslims living in Taiwan. The growing Muslim population in Taiwan from Indonesia can be seen in many industrial cities, such as the one in Den, Taoyuan, where there are a growing number of Indonesian workers there, in which most of them are Muslim. An Indonesian worker married to a local Taiwanese man built the Taipei Mosque, Taiwan's seventh and latest mosque, which was opened on the 9th of June 2013. Taiwan's eighth mosque, the Kang Mosque, is under construction in Donggang, Pingtung. The mosque is sponsored by Nahdlatul Ulama, a Sunni Islam group in Indonesia.